Tonight, I get the honor of hosting our first Fast Track for 2022. I am joined by two awesome leaders of our team, Corporate Director 2, Heidi Bartolotta, and Corporate Director 4, Mark Atha and Myrna Atha. I'm going to turn it over to them in just a couple of minutes. But, you know, when we attend any Melaleuca corporate events, and we say that we're part of either Heidi or Mark and Myrna's team, everybody is in awe of the leadership, not only of Mark and Myrna and Heidi, but of all of our leadership team. And when you take a look at these pages, and I'm saying pages because we literally have pages of outstanding leaders, you'll see why I really do believe that we've got the best team in all of Melaleuca. And one of the things that I'm excited about for 2022 is that we're going to have a number of these leaders host our Fast Tracks in the upcoming weeks as well. So you're going to be able to hear from all of these leaders. They've got great insight, all kinds of experience in building a Melaleuca business. And I know that you are going to learn a ton of great business building points as well. But tonight I get the opportunity to turn it right over to Corporate Director 2, Heidi Bartolotta, who's joining us from Boise, Idaho, and Corporate Director 4, Mark and Myrna Atha, who are in Scottsdale, Arizona. And as I mentioned, these three individuals, I guess we get three corporate directors today. They are just true gems. I will tell you, they are always leading by example. They're always plugged in. They always want the best for all of us in helping us succeed. I always say success leaves clues, and they're leading the way. And I'll give you just one bit of information. Today, Heidi's daughter turns 18. And I know she's already probably celebrated a little bit with Katie, but she's here tonight on Fast Track because Fast Track is one of Melaleuca's critical business building activities. And I know Mark and Myrna, they do exactly the same. There's been months, for instance, where they've been away on holidays, taking a little bit of time, but they always commit to being with us on Fast Track. So Mark and Heidi, let me turn it over to you. I'll get out of your way, and we get to talk a little bit about why Fast Track's so important, but also talk about our merger of these two fabulous teams and what 2022 has in store.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Stacey. I'm going to kick off here tonight, and yeah, I just saw on Facebook a little while ago it was Katie's birthday today, so that's exciting. 18, she gets to enroll in Melaleuca. Baxter's birthday was yesterday, but he's only 14, so he can't enroll yet. So anyway, I'm really excited that we are joining forces. You know, I've gotten to work with Heidi and many of you guys on her team, and many of you are so many great leaders. I've gotten to work with you guys over the years, but you know, now we get to work all together, which is really kind of fun. And we've just found ways that our calendars can finally merge. And a lot of it just really has to do with the fact that we've all been kind of working a lot over Zoom last year and a half. And we kind of looked at it and we said, you know, when we were all going in a million different directions, doing all kinds of different meetings, sometimes luncheons and breakfasts and in-homes and all over the place, it wasn't always easy to get everybody on the same schedule. But today it seems like most of us are doing our business largely from home, although many of us are still trying to do some other meetings. So we really should show the world and show prospective teammates the true potential of the team that they're a part of here. So I'm excited about it. And for many of you that may be joining our Fast Track for the very first time, you know, if you've been part of Heidi's team, you've always been part of a team that has been big on accountability and setting goals and celebrating success. And you guys have done all of those key critical things. You've had team meetings and team accountability Zooms. You've done weekly team calls. All of those things make up and encompass what critical activity number 6, Fast Track, is what it's always really been about. And that is to give people a process to duplicate success in their business. So I don't want you to think that Fast Track's a meeting, and it's not just a training, although there's a training element to it. More importantly, it's a process that you can teach that others can teach. And when you can teach others to teach, that's how you duplicate. And plugging in FastTrack on Monday nights is easy. And the skills that you'll learn from others that are duplicating will be very, very valuable for you. And, Melaleuca learned years ago that critical activity number FastTrack was a simple but proven business, I guess you might call it, staple that's been learned by all kinds of businesses over the years, a principle of success, if you might, that when you set goals and you create an action plan and you team out to carry out the activities necessary to achieve those goals, and then you celebrate the success and you kind of reevaluate where you're at, and you go and you start all over again with reassessing, setting your new goals, creating your new action plan. This is the process that we do. And even though we have so many different methods that we can team up to help you with success with your business, there's one proven concept that works time after again, is when you have some sort of a regular event like this that people can plug into to recharge their battery and to reevaluate where they're at in their business and what they need to do to go forward, and also who they're going to team up with to have success. So that's what FastTrack is all about. So we're pretty excited to announce what we're going to be doing this year. We've created a whole new resources site. Next week is going to be all about highlighting our launch announcements and rolling out all the entire new package of tools that we've put together for you guys. But really, it amounts to creating resources for you to use that you can easily duplicate with your team. And so we've created a new umbrella for that resource site, if you will, and we're simply calling it Resources for Results. R4R. And that's what our new brand will be for our team in terms of, not for marketing. This isn't purposes of marketing, trying to create leads or any of that kind of stuff, because so many of you have your own identity and so many of you have your own way that you do that. No, it's more than that. It's about creating a team where we all work together, because we've got so many leaders here who have had so much success that all of us working together can ensure others can duplicate that. So we're putting our resources together to help you duplicate the success that we've already had and so many of you are already having. So think of being able to roll this out to somebody new that you're just prospecting and saying, look at our team, look at the leaders, look at the success we've had, and look at what we've created. So our new year comes with a new calendar with many more opportunities for you to invite people to events, overviews, to get educated on our products and to get educated on our potential business. And also for things like FastTrack, team trainings. We're going to collaborate and consolidate to have success this year. We've even included some new times in the calendar, some that'll work for other time zones better than maybe we've had in the past. We've got a new suite of tools that we'll be rolling out, including some pre-recorded presentations and other things like that. I don't want to steal all the thunder for next week, because we're going to have examples of things to show you next week, but it's all designed to help you get the results that you're looking for in 2022. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now and invite Heidi and Myrna to join me. And I kind of I thought it would be fun to sort of quarterback and have the privilege of interviewing these two dynamic women here tonight. And then if they allow me to throw my 2 cents worth in, I might do that here and there. So I've been anticipating this for quite some time now, Heidi. I mean, you really got the ball rolling here a few months ago when you came to me and said, let's talk about how we can work together as a team even closer. And we started sharing some ideas, and I've just been anticipating our launch. You're getting excited, but I want to, now that you guys are the days here and you guys have had a lot of time to think about this too, I want to throw it out there and say, tell me some of the things that you're most excited about in terms of what this will mean for your team. Heidi, let's start with you.
Well, I think in your little talk that you just gave, one of the things that I'm most excited about is because all of us have different life experiences. One of the things that I've always appreciated about all of us working together is that we just make each other better. So I think the resource of all of us coming together is a huge one. And then obviously for my team, I'm super excited about the fact that we're going to have access to male presenters because in the past, we've always had you for, executive luncheons. And as you mentioned, we've all gone really online over the last 2 years. And because of that, we haven't had the access to put people in front of you like we have in the past. So I'm really excited about growing the male side of our team, and also just giving people access to hear different voices and different speakers. So I'm excited about, I know we're saving, next week, but I'm excited about all of the collaboration that's happening in so many different ways. So I think it's going to be great for all of us. And I will echo what Stacy started out by saying, which is we have the best team in Melaleuca without a shadow of a doubt. So the fact that we're all pulling our resources together, I just think is going to be explosive. I'm super excited about it.
Verna, what about you?
Well, obviously I feel the same way, but differently, because Heidi, I've always had this guy, so it's all good. But I feel like I haven't had the opportunity to support your team as much as I'd like to, because really, when Mark travels or did travel, I was always stay home and hold the fort. That was sort of my job. So for those of you that don't know, for the first couple of years, Heidi and Mark were working together, I was thinking like, man, they talk a lot. They talk more than we talk, like more than Mark and I talk, which was actually great for me. But obviously, like, so much fun to get to know all of your team, Heidi. And I just want everybody over there to know that you guys have access to me just as much, if not more so than Mark. So I am here for you as well. And so now not only do you have or feel you have that access to Heidi, but I just want to open my doors to all of you and let you know I am here to support you 150%. So if you are wondering whether or not I actually work the Melaleuca business, yes, I do. Okay, we work the business equally. We do all the same things. So you have me too now. And so use me and abuse me. I am so jazzed about that. And all the diverse backgrounds, like you were saying, Heidi, it's so awesome to have all you females joining us. We literally can cover every single walk of life with our presenter list. So thanks for joining us.
It's double trouble. You guys get double trouble. Actually, maybe triple trouble. Myrna's more of a yellow. So Heidi, she's not just going to be the inspiration under your wings. She's going to be the tornado under your butt, probably. So you'll appreciate that. So Heidi, how about you?
Yeah, I think I kind of said it. I'm just really looking forward to all of us working together. I have, as Myrna said, I've had the fortune of being able to access you on a regular basis. You mentored me for the first couple of years of my business. I do feel badly how much time I took from you, but hopefully you think it was worth it. But I'm really looking forward to I think one of the things that's so cool about all of our team members is that when you start to listen to them train on the different aspects of Melaleuca, you really get these very, very dynamic perspectives because, again, all of our backgrounds are so different. And I think all of that, and I don't know how to say this exactly, but rubbing up against each other is going to create something really, really powerful. Even just the conversations that we've had as, an exec team, all of those, people that you put up the pictures of, just the conversation that we had the other day about rolling this out and the different perspectives that came out, I could already see it starting to happen. And I'm just really excited about all of that collaboration. So hopefully everyone that's on the line, I think there's over 140 of you, you really feel a part of that because you're just as much a part of it as all of those pictures of people that you saw, and your voice and you participating and actively engaging. I don't know, I'm really excited about this next year in that.
That's great. I just want to make one more point because I've got a few more things that I want to get your perspective on. But, I was thinking that as we have done a lot of stuff online over the last year, and as we've seen more and more, let's call them digital or electronic tools be made available to us, a lot of which are coming from the company, like with QuickShare Pro and Refer a Friend and different things. It hasn't necessarily been a need for people to invite others to any kind of a group calendar overview, because there's so many ways to present Melaleuca. And quite frankly, we have a team of people that are great presenters on their own. But one of the things that I think perhaps can get lost in that, just that one-on-one environment where it's always just you presenting to people by yourself, or maybe with your personal, there's two of you, that's it, is maybe the prospect, the person that's potentially going to join us as a teammate. Maybe not so much with customers, because I think customers will see the benefit of the product no matter what, but there's powers in product stories with a group of people. But I think from the potential business builder point of view, maybe we lost a little of the big picture that people would see. You know, when 2020 hit and people were scrambling like crazy to find products like the types of products that Melaleuca sells, and to find a way to buy them at home without having to go to the stores because everybody was panicked, we saw Melaleuca grow by leaps and bounds, perhaps the biggest growth year we had in our history. But in 2021, we didn't see the same growth. Now, we had a great year and we held on to most of our customers, and you know, our attrition reached the highest retention in our company history. So obviously people were staying and shopping for our products. But I don't think we attracted as many business builders in 2021. And I personally think some of that had to do with there was something lost in translation based on the way that most people were introduced to our business since we were all working online. So if we're going to work online together, wouldn't it be great if we could try to bring all of the best aspects of working in person? And I think one of the biggest benefits to doing that has always been the power of each other's stories. So as we work together here, you know, think of sitting around in an in-home where you and a couple of your teammates are doing an in-home together, and you've got several people there that are able to share a story. The power of the story makes it seem like everybody's winning here. And so I think that's an aspect that's going to really come to fruition for us this year too. Okay, so I want to change my my topic here and ask you guys on perspective of this calendar we're putting together. Now, if any of you have been on Heidi's team Facebook page or our team Facebook page, we're not going to change those because we don't want to complicate it or confuse it out there, and people are used to going somewhere to get information. So we're just post everything we do anywhere we do it. And quite frankly, the level of you leaders listening here tonight, you have your own private little Facebook groups for your team, and you communicate, and you are their team leader. But we don't want to be publishing 30 different links that people have to remember, right? So what we're going to do is disseminate the information, and we're going to all come together here on Mondays, and then we'll work our overviews together. So your enroller will always make sure that they send you to the right link, and then you can duplicate that. But when you look at that calendar, if you haven't already gone and looked at the calendar for our educational overviews and trainings and all the things that we've put together for the team, you will see that we've more than doubled the number that we have on the calendar on a monthly basis multiple times per day. And so when you look at that calendar, it may seem a little overwhelming, and we know that everyone is probably, a lot of people are probably working this business part-time. So when you look at that calendar, I don't want you to be overwhelmed thinking we're asking you to participate in every single one of those things that you see there. What we're trying to do is to make it, to get it to the point where no matter when it works for you to build your business, there's going to be something available for you to take advantage of. So how about you guys? How do you see us utilizing the calendar, and how are you guys going to utilize and teach others to use it? Myrna, what were you thinking with that?
Awesome. Well, first of all, I was like, wow, you guys, I mean, check this out. Again, don't let it overwhelm you. But when I looked at that, I thought, oh my goodness. First of all, I'm super excited for obvious reasons, but just as we're talking about and what Mark shared about the stories, I mean, my favorite part of ever listening to anybody besides myself or Mark do an overview is the stories and bringing those. And, you know, again, that's why we've built our business with in-homes and luncheons and in person so much over the years. So I'm super excited to listen to as many of those overviews I can over the next couple of weeks from presenters that I don't know presenting, which is the majority of them. I can hear their stories, right? So what I did this morning is I printed out the calendar. And then I went, okay, well, the first one I'm going to be on is tomorrow morning. I'm going to be there with Angie and Paula. And then I'm going to listen to Mark and Heidi in the afternoon because that works for my schedule. Then Wednesday for sure. Michelle Martin, I am with you, girl. I want to hear you do an overview. So I've put as many of these in my calendar this week as I can. And the ones I couldn't do this week, I moved into next week because I want to make sure that I get to hear everybody's stories. So I want everybody to know as well, we made a commitment as presenters to one another that for the next couple of weeks as we get things going, regardless of whether or not we have guests show up. Now, I'm not saying don't invite people. I'm saying invite guests. I've already got somebody booked this week as well for Thursday. But come regardless so that you can hear the presentation or the overview, if you call it that. And that's going to really help you identify, how to match people up as you hear different stories, if you can do that. So that's my goal for this week for sure, is to jump on there. And I know for myself, I can hardly wait to hear some new language because that's going to allow me to make my overview even that much better. Because listen, I've been doing this for 27 and a half years, right? So I'm kind of like the old broken record, if you will. So I can hardly wait to hear some new language that will fit for me in my overview to be able to be just that much better for all of you logging in when I get to share with your guests.
Well, one thing I really concur with what you just said, Myrna, is that Heidi and I can both hardly wait to hear what we have to say tomorrow too.
I know.
This is going to be the first time we've ever educated together.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure.
Oh, now we're going to have all the voyeurs there for sure. Let's see these two make a fool of themselves. All right. So Heidi, what were you thinking? How can you are so big on calendaring. So to have an organized calendar like this, I'm sure you're already planning on how you're going to use it.
There are so many things that I'm excited about with this. I think that for those of you that are not already doing your own educational presentations, listening.
We lost Heidi. She's frozen.
I know. Hopefully it'll pick back
Oh my
up.
goodness.
Will just help you to potential guest. Is it cutting out? Am I cutting out?
Just make that point again, Heidi, because you just froze up there.
Okay. I'm just taking my video off for a second so that you can definitely hear me, because that seems to be the thing with my computer. So I think that getting on and listening to the different educators is so important because it really gives you the ability to tailor who you're inviting to. So if I'm inviting a potential customer or potential business partner to listen to an educational overview, I want to make sure that I'm inviting them to someone that they're really going to relate and connect with. And yes, the other stories in the room are important, but obviously the presenter at that time is the most powerful voice. So if you really understand who every single one of the presenters are, you realize how much power you have access to, right? And then when you go to invite, probably one of the biggest things that I see is making sure that the way that you invite sets the person up for success that you're inviting on, right? If you're inviting someone to attend, the way that I always describe it is, if somebody invites you to a party and they don't meet you at the door and you're walking in and you're like, I don't know any of these people. This is really uncomfortable for me. I've never done this before. Oftentimes, at least if you're me, I would turn around and walk out, be like, yeah, this is probably not the party for me. So I feel the same way about our Zoom rooms, right? If you set up a time to reach out to someone ahead of time and you say, I'll be in there when you get there. And then they come in and you're like, hi, and this is my friend Myrna that I was telling you about that's going to do the education. Myrna, meet my friend Mark. It just creates this really, really comfortable feeling for your guest. And the other thing that it does is it creates a really comfortable feeling for the educator, right? Because Myrna was just introduced to your guest. And so I just think there's so much power in our schedule now. And the way that I'm going to use it is I will use it to fill in when I'm not doing, presentations one-on-one live with people or doing luncheons, which we're starting to do a little bit more of, obviously, but use it to fill in. And honestly, sometimes I end up using different presenters, even when I could personally present, because I want them to have the experience of our team and how powerful our team is. And I think to Mark's point that he said earlier, one of the things that COVID kind of did for us is it kind of pulled us away, I think, from really engaging in introducing people to the business in a way where they saw a lot of other people. And this will bring that back. And the more people that we have in those rooms that are introducing their guests and inviting them in the right way, it's going to be so powerful for all of us. So I'm really excited about this resource for all of us.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you to expand on a point you just talked about there, Heidi, because I think one of the things that people, I'm going to use the word struggle, although I don't think they need to struggle with it. I think it's just coaching and they won't struggle with it, is how to properly set up the expectations for somebody that you're inviting so that, you're literally, it's almost like you are coming to the party with them, like you're literally bringing them. So how do you do that when you're making sure that someone has the right expectation and you're inviting them and confirming and kind of logging into the room with them? What do you do?
Yeah. I think it's us being comfortable to set the expectation. And I think sometimes when people are newer or they're a little bit afraid to invite someone because they're afraid that someone might say no, they hesitate to set the expectation in the right way. So for me, when I'm inviting someone to come into an educational overview, I'll say, I'll ask them, I really would like to invite you to come on Thursday night. Would Thursday night at 5 work for you? And if they say, yeah.
You have to shut off your video again.
Yep.
If it,
You're keeping us in suspense here tonight, Heidi.
I'll set it up where they know.
Okay. I don't know why we're losing you so badly tonight.
Well, maybe let me pick up a little bit if she can hear me. Maybe she needs to log out and log back in. Maybe.
Yeah, let's go to you, Myrna.
Okay, sounds good. I think I know where Heidi was going. Is again, just setting that expectation of what's going to happen. We may all think that everybody knows about Zoom because of the last couple of years, but not everybody is comfortable with Zoom. Maybe they've jumped on, to say Merry Christmas to their family. I don't know, but I always ask them if they're familiar with Zoom. If they are, if they aren't, telling them about, their camera. Some will say like, oh my gosh, like I don't want anybody to see me. Well, that's no problem. You know what? You don't have to have your camera on. How to mute themselves. And what I like to do is just sort of like lead them through, like, early, this is what's going to happen, make it like fun and easy. And again, set that expectation. I'll tell them what's going to happen. I'll tell them, have a pen and paper with you to jot down any thoughts or ideas you might have, because I'm going to call you right after and follow up and get all your questions answered. And so I just want to make them feel really comfortable. The other thing is, I will contact the presenter and let them know if I have a guest coming, and maybe something that's really important for them to know about that guest. So if I was bringing somebody online to listen to Heidi and they had pharmaceutical sales background, I would definitely tell Heidi, listen, this gal works for Pfizer. She's in pharma sales, work your magic. Okay. Or she's married, she has 2 kids, and she hates being on the road all the time. So that's something, you guys, again, that we would love for you to do as presenters is, don't do it like just as you're, while you're in the room and we're trying to welcome people and whatnot, but do it ahead of time, not a day ahead of time, but, a few minutes ahead of time, a couple hours ahead of time. reach out to the presenter and just, if there's any hot buttons, we don't need, a book report, but again, any talking points that you think are really important for your person to hear. We're not going to say, by the way, Heidi, you need to hear this, but we're pretty good at doing our educational overviews. So we're going to weave that in to the best of our ability to really be speaking to the guests that you've brought us. We work really hard to do a good job for you. Heidi, jump in. So make sure, see if we can hear you again.
Yeah, I think you hit it. I think that setting the expectation that they know that you're going to reach out and help them log in, and that you're there to welcome them and introduce them to the educator, it just makes it so much more comfortable for everyone. And I absolutely agree with Myrna. You letting us know in private message, before or right when you get in the room, kind of the hot buttons, really allows us to deliver for you. And I think that sometimes you think that you're bugging us, and that really is not the case at all. I really want to know the people that are going to be logging in the room, because it allows me to engage with them, right? The other thing that I will say is, and maybe Mark is going to touch on this, don't make your guests uncomfortable by telling us in front of them, because anything that would make you feel kind of uneasy is something that you shouldn't do to your guests, right? So don't log in and say, Heidi, this is my guest and she's in pharma and I want you to talk about that. Sometimes that can kind of be a little bit off-putting. So if you just send it to us in private message, it works really well.
That's a great point. One thing I thought of just now, because you guys are talking a lot about creating the right expectations and making people feel comfortable coming, is I just want to emphasize that our team overviews are not a place for you to be sending links to cold prospects. I really want to emphasize that. There's nothing more uncomfortable for a presenter than to get on there and somebody logs in and says, yeah, I'm looking for Steve, or I'm looking for Susie, or I don't even remember who invited me here. What's this all about? What's this job? How much does it pay? No way. I mean, not only is that unprofessional, but we could lose everybody else's prospect that's in the room too. And so if you want to cold prospect people and bring them to a presentation, bring them to your own, or get your support team to work one-on-one with you and do private ones. The team ones are not for you to do that. It's just, we could lose everybody in the room because you do that. So these team overviews are designed for you to bring people that you've already built rapport with, that you've already had conversations with, that you've already had a pre-talk with. And as these ladies are saying, the best way to do it is to say, I'm going to call you 15 minutes before, and I'm going to walk you through making sure you get logged in at the same time as me so we can get into the room together. That way, even if you have built rapport with them ahead of time, it's not uncomfortable if they happen to get into the room even just 2 minutes before you, and it's uncomfortable for them because they're sitting there and you're not there yet. That's uncomfortable too. So this is all part of just setting up the perfect scenario for your guest to have the best experience possible. And with that, I think we should maybe wrap up here tonight and talk about some etiquette. And I thought it would be fun, and this is just off the cuff. You guys don't even know what I'm going to say because I didn't tell you this part. I would love you guys to tell me what your pet peeve is in a Zoom room. Come on, you got to have something. Somebody's got to have a pet peeve. Who wants to go first?
You go first.
Okay, you could have two.
Okay, probably one of my biggest is when business partners get on and they start asking me questions about, I don't know, the compensation plan or the products or something. And I'm thinking, this is not a training. This educational overview is for new people to educate them. Those kinds of things are things that you learn on our trainings, or you get onto our Q&As and ask. This is not the place. And the reason is not because I don't want to answer the question, it's because it makes the new people uncomfortable. And that educational overview setting is specifically to do what it is titled, educate new people.
Oh.
So,
that is so, you just made me think of one I was on not long ago. We were just making, before we started the overview, there was 2 or 3 guests on there already. And one of those, he goes, well, while we're waiting, can I ask you a question, Mark? I said, sure. She goes, I have this lady that placed her order 10 days ago and her products aren't here yet. Oh, I mean, this is not the place for that, guys, right? Okay, Myrna, we'll let you pick a pet peeve while Heidi gets her other 17 in line.
Well, I've just realized that since we've been doing Zooms, common sense is not so common for some people. So things like walking around, like they're walking around with their computer. Now I'm seeing a tour of their house or their nose, right? They're like this. I mean, really? Or they're standing up and their chest is in front of the screen. Or they're
At best.
eating. At best. Well, hopefully there's, what I'm saying. Anyways, fans moving, spinning, and like, here's the bottom line. If you have things going on, if you need to eat your lunch or dinner, turn your camera off. Like you want, and again, this is setting the expectations for you guys, I guess we're saying right now, but you also need to tell your people that. That's why they need to know that they can shut their camera off if they have to have lunch while they're listening to the educational overview. I mean, that's all fine, but we don't want to see it, right? You guys work so hard to get people on and booking that appointment. We're going to show up. We're going to bring our A game. That's what I'm talking about. So you need to meet us there, bring your A game as well, so that your guest has a great experience. Yeah, Heidi.
Well, I was just going to say, that's so spot on, because you're impacting other people in the room as well. So, right. I mean, if this becomes a well-oiled machine, it's like perfection when you see, when people are greeted and people are engaging in the right way. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like perfect. It would be so awesome for all of them to work out that way.
Right.
Actually,
because that's the whole point.
Now that you're saying that, I actually put a list together here of etiquette things, and you guys have covered about 4 of them just in your pet peeves. But that brings up one of the points I wanted to make, Heidi, is that let's only have positive, upbeat chit chat, let's call it, in the beginning before we start our overview. This is not a time for you to be on there saying, oh, looks like my guest isn't going to show up again. Oh, I had 5 people invited today. Doesn't look like anybody's going to make it. I just found out 3 of my friends have COVID. I mean, this is not that kind of conversation. This is an upbeat chit chat before we get started to make people feel like we're a bunch of people they'd want to be involved with, and that this is an environment that they really feel good in. And so these are things that we can all do to help each other better. And I was laughing when Myrna said the ceiling fan, because I can't tell you how many times I've watched people sit through an entire overview and all we've seen is their ceiling fan going. And I guess it could be a lot worse if the camera was on what they were really doing. But here's my rule of thumb for this. Think of yourself sitting in a meeting room with 500 people and you're in the front row. What would you do in a meeting room with you in the front row? Would you be standing up and walking all around in front of people? Would you be talking on phone? Would you be texting people? Would you be eating dinner? Would you be taking a shower? We've had some strange things happen, but think of it that way. You're in a room, you're on display. And so it's so easy to just turn your camera off if you think something might be happening in view of your camera that could be distracting to others. So I'll tell you one of my pet peeves is when people come on and they're engaging, chit-chatting with us in the beginning, and then their guest doesn't show up, so they leave the room during the presentation. Now, this isn't necessarily a big thing when you got 100 people on or more like we do tonight, but if you've got a small group and there's 5 or 6 people on, it becomes very apparent when people look through who's in the room at the end of the presentation if somebody left. So it's not hard for you to just turn your camera off, make sure you're muted, and stay in the room till the end of the overview. You can always come back and close off later, or we're going to close the room out afterwards anyway. But it's one more of those things. And imagine if you were in a room and at the end of the meeting, half as many people were in the room. You're in the front row and you turn around after the meeting's over and half the people are gone that were there that when you walked into the meeting room, right? What message would that send to you? So that's one of my pet peeves. Okay, back to you, Heidi.
Yeah, and I will say about that, I think that if you get on even if let's just say that your guest text messages you and their child just started to get sick or something and they can't get on and focus, right? There's so much that you can learn from it. Like even me sitting and listening, as many times as I've done these educational presentations, I still learn something every time I listen to a presenter. So, take the time. You already scheduled the time. Take the time to sit and maybe make yourself better at your craft, which is educating people on shopping, right? Staying on and really using that time. Okay, so probably if I were going to say the biggest one that no one has mentioned yet is people showing up late. For anyone that knows me, I feel like on time is at least 10 minutes early, then you're on time. Like I'm not. So I don't have a lot of grace, and I try to have grace for people in every situation, but I don't have a lot of grace for people that show up late. So just know that I think that you need to be on time. So it's just disrespectful to the other people. So,
well, and you know what, Heidi, I think the other thing maybe we should add to that, because you're so right. I'm cute 10 minutes. That's why Mark and I take separate cars to most places we go together, because he does one more email, one more text message, one more phone call. And I'm like, I got to be there. I get anxiety like crazy. But as presenters, we promise you that we will be in the room. How many minutes early, Heidi?
10 minutes early.
10 minutes early. So as presenters, we've made that commitment to one another that we'll always be there 10 minutes early. So, when you come into that room, we're going to be there to greet you and your guests. I mean, that's so important.
And we've also, before you tell us your next pet peeve, Myrna, this one ties right in with what you guys are talking about. So we also made a decision, because all of your presenters that are going to be giving of their time, and we're so appreciative of them, we all had a Zoom call together on Saturday and kind of talked about things. And we all agreed that we are going to start locking the room after we start. And so that's new for a lot of us on our team. That's new. But I think that it'll do two things for us. Number one, it will get people to make sure they show up on time. And number two, it will eliminate all of those distractions that happen when people keep logging in after you've already started. And so I think we kind of agreed that we're going to do it like 3 minutes after the hour. I mean, we're always going to start on time, and we're not going to do it this week because this is a new thing. But starting this time next week, we will start doing that. So that means as you're teaching your team, as you're inviting people, if we all try to get there 10 minutes early, then it won't matter if we lock the room at 3 minutes after.
Can I add something to that? So
yes.
For those of you that are thinking, how do I manage that if that's not something that you're accustomed to? Just I think us telling you that allows you to say to your guests, we always start on time, so I'd like to help you log in at least 5 minutes early, because I really would like you to be introduced to a few of my business partners that are in the room, or I'd really like you to be introduced to the educator. And I think it sets a really nice expectation that you're going to be in there early. And then if they're running late, you can say, oh, I'm so sorry. We always start on time. We like to be respectful of people's time. Let's reschedule. Oh my gosh, what just happened?
Yeah, because we can hear you. We can hear you, Heidi.
Okay.
But right, because we don't want, and a good way you might say that is you might say, because we typically share some information about the presenters at the very beginning. And if you miss that, then you're going to miss an important part of the presentation. So let's just reschedule.
That's perfect, Heidi. I love that. And you know what? Again, we're setting the expectation, but here's the backside of that. If you book somebody and they say, I can only be on for 20 minutes, again, it's the same thing, reschedule, because they'll be saying, well, that's fine. You'll get the gist of it. Like, that's not okay. Okay. So again, reschedule right away. Don't have them come for 20 minutes, then they have to leave.
Right. It shows value. It shows that there's value.
Yes.
Myrna, any other pet peeves?
Okay. So I think I only have one to add, and that is, at the end of the presentation, I know what I like to do is I just open it up and say, hey, if anybody has questions for me, I'll stick around for a couple of minutes. But again, don't do something to put your guest on the spot. So what you shouldn't do is then go, Heidi, do you have any questions for Myrna? Like I just said, I'm here for any questions, and I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Is there anything thoughts you have, or if I need to clarify something? Do not say to your guests, do you have any questions for Myrna? Because you've already told them, again, you've set the expectation, remember, ahead of time. You're going to call them afterwards so you guys can chit chat together and you can answer any questions they have. They might not feel comfortable in a setting with a bunch of people on Zoom asking some questions. So don't make them feel forced to ask questions. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. I have people, quite often people say things like, this might be your only chance to ask Mark a question.
Oh,
well, that's
yeah,
not
I
true.
get that all the time.
That's not true. You want them to think that we're going to be accessible to them all the time. So don't say that. Not only does it make them feel uncomfortable, it makes it feel like this was a once in a lifetime thing. They're never going to have a chance to talk to us ever again.
Right.
So, and with that, along that line too, guys, there's appropriate questions and there's inappropriate questions. So let's say you're on line and your guest happens to type a question into the chat. Reply to that privately. You take that upon yourself to reply to them privately. And you can say, hey, that's a great question. Let me answer that right afterwards. If you know it's a question that isn't necessarily one wants to handle, like sometimes people ask questions about, somebody will type in, what if I can't use 35 product points a month? Well, is that something that presenter wants to handle if nobody else even question, right? So you could type in to them and reply privately in the chat, hey, great question. I totally talk to you about that afterwards, and you can deal with that. And here's the other thing too, is that we have some pretty talented presenters here, and we have some people that come from backgrounds like Dr. Barbara Ryan, for example. We're pretty excited to have Barbara as part of the leadership team, but this is not an overview where we're educating people on Melaleuca and the products. Is not the time for you to come on there and say, oh, great, now I can ask her about this persistent sore I have on my butt, right? This is not a time to start asking the doctor questions. This is something that's your guest's opportunity. So if your guest doesn't have a question, it's not time for you to start asking a bunch of questions. And that could go, I'm just using Dr. Ryan as an example because she tends to get that. I know a lot of times people think this is a great opportunity to ask a doctor a question. But I get it sometimes with people asking me questions about the compensation plan or something. And, seriously, if it's something that the guest isn't asking, then why would you ask the question? Because the overview is designed to educate the guest. There's all kinds of questions that we can entertain afterwards in a strategy session with people to make sure they're really crystal clear on whatever it is they need to know. But in the overview, we're just trying to give them enough information to see this is great products and a great place to shop, and it's simple to get started, and let's go, right? That's all we're trying to do, is give them enough information to say yes, not so much that they have to think about it. Does that make sense? All right, did I forget anything? Anything else you guys want to add? Oh, I thought of one other thing. We have asked each of our presenters, and this is a big ask, and they all agreed to it, so I'm so thankful that they said yes. We have asked in the month of January if each of them would do every single presentation that they're allotted for, whether we have guests or not. And the reason that we are going to do that just for January, because typically if a guest doesn't show up, then it's a lot to ask the presenter to go through the presentation anyway, just because you wanted to hear them present, right? Giving up their time in a calendar, this is the time that they could spend on their business. They don't need to spend time giving a presentation for someone that's already enrolled, right? You can come back and listen sometime when there's guests. But for the month of January, they've all agreed to do their presentations as slotted, even if we don't have any guests. And the reason why is if I were you guys, I'd do just what Myrna was talking about earlier, and I try to listen to as many of these overviews as possible throughout the month. Not only are you going to pick up different terminology, different tips, you're going to relate to different styles, you're going to know who would be the best person for you to invite a guest to that would relate to them the most. It's going to give you a really good handle on your inventory for success, so to speak. And so they've all agreed to do that, and I'm very thankful that they've agreed to do that. So, take advantage of that. And then the last point I wanted to add was be engaged in, when you're on an overview, be engaged in the overview to the point that you're listening intently enough so that a presenter knows that if it was appropriate, they could ask you for your story. So I love on an overview, and if I see someone that I know on the overview and it wasn't pre-planned, but they just had to be on my overview, and I know they have a great director 6 story, or they have a great first check story because I've heard their story before, I always try to get that out of them. In fact, I'm typically private messaging them where I can and saying, are you by your computer? Are you going to be there for sure? Because I'd love to ask your story. But sometimes it's not always easy to do that when you're presenting, especially if you're by yourself. So if you're there, be engaged and be attentive, because if a presenter sees you there and they know you have a powerful story, nothing's more powerful, especially when we're doing anything to do with the compensation plan, than to hear people's stories. I think people resonate with stories far more than they ever remember any of the details you told them of what a director is or what a senior director is. They remember the story of the person that said, I got enrolled, I tried the products, I talked to 10 of my friends, I got a check for $750, and I said, I can do this. They remember that story. So to the degree that we can get more of you engaged in sharing your stories, it's going to add so much more success to everybody's results.
That's
all right.
awesome.
We forgotten anything? I guess we can turn it back to Stacy to wrap up. And if we forgot anything, she'll clean up for us for sure.
Awesome.
Well,
That was great.
I thought you guys were all awesome. And I'm going to wrap up tonight with just some announcements. And before I do that, the only thing that I'm going to encourage you all to do, and Mark, you talked about how FastTrack is one of Melaleuca's critical activities, is that, we have people joining us from all different time zones, from Hawaii all the way over to Atlantic Canada. And we realize that a lot of times, the time, well, we're talking almost midnight in Atlantic Canada. We're talking in Hawaii. Some people are still at work. So one of the things that several of our teams do is they get together as a little team, either prior to FastTrack or maybe it's after FastTrack. And we are going to make the FastTrack recordings available as well, so that you can listen as a team to FastTrack and our keynote speakers, and then be able to discuss it as a team as well. So, don't worry if you've got people that are in time zones that don't necessarily, this time it doesn't work. We still want to make this all available for all of you to use. And there's power in getting together as a team, setting some goals for the week as well. And I think that you guys will really benefit from that. Okay, well, let me just wrap up with some really quick announcements. And that didn't work out very well, did it, of going to my slides. So we're going to just move everything over. And we've got some quick announcements to go through. Of course, we've got a fabulous promotion for the month of January until the 18th. We've got $1 memberships for everyone. So if I was you, I'd take advantage of that. And of course, we've got Enroll to our New Year, New You bundle. And by enrolling 4, you've got these great, awesome headphones. And I will tell you, I'm excited about the blender. And I was actually gifted a Dyson hairdryer last year for Christmas. And they are awesome. So I would be working towards one of those 2 prizes. And what a great way to start the month of January as well. Wow, did we ever have a great call this morning with Heidi on our accountability challenge. And we posted the sheet in the Facebook groups as well. And you know what, there is something powerful about stating your goals for the week and having to come back and report in exactly what you've done. So you can still join that as well. We are meeting every Monday morning. And that's starting at 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Mountain, 10 o'clock Eastern. And come and join us. There is, again, it's a really powerful experience. Now, this morning, we had so many people, we didn't have a lot of time to talk about any approaches, but you can join us tomorrow morning. We've got a new time, 11 a.m. Mountain, 10 o'clock Pacific, and then you've got all the time zones there. But start your day with S&K. We're going back to the basics tomorrow, and we are going to be talking about how to approach people. And I will tell you, I've been doing these power hours for the last several years. I learned something from all of you every single week as well. And we're really excited that we've got some guest presenters lined up as well. Next week, we've got Myrna joining us. So come and hear from one of our experts on approaches. And you can mark down the first Tuesday of every single month. We are going to have a guest presenter talk about approaches. And one of the things that I am super excited about is our Thursday product events. And we've got such amazing presenters on with all of us that we are going to put them to work. So starting off this Thursday, we've got our R3 program. This is not what is R3 about. You can go to the R3 Facebook page and you'll see there that Susan Torberg is doing all kinds of presentations on the R3 program. We're going to talk to some of people on our team that have had phenomenal success utilizing R3 and give you all kinds of tips and hints. So come and join us. We've got a calendar put together for the entire month, and we'll continue to do that each month as well. So you'll see the following week, we're going to talk about some new products that are being launched, and then say Bella Skincare Basics, and excited to have Melanie present at the end of the month on gut health. So stay tuned for that. Of course, the R3 program, what a great way to start off the month. I don't know about you guys, but I did put a few pounds on during the holiday season, and now I need to get them off. And so we've got a challenge starting January 10th, but the registration closes on January 7th. So if you haven't had a chance to register, I really highly recommend that you do that. And, you know, even if you don't need to lose weight, this program is all about healthy eating. And again, it's about being accountable to yourself as well. And of course, on Saturday, we've got our January launch happening. And this afternoon, Frank posted this on the Melaleuca Enhancing Lives Facebook page. And you know what? Basically, Frank said that in 36 years of Melaleuca being in business, there's nothing that's as exciting as what's going to be launched on Saturday. So if I was you, I would spend some time this week inviting your customers as well as your business partners to join you at January launch. And the beauty is that you can meet in person if that is something that you're able to do with your team, or you can join in. And a lot of people have been texting me or calling me saying, well, how do we do that? Just log into melaleuca.com/launch, and you'll be able to access the broadcast live at 10 a.m. Mountain. And you'll hear from not only Frank Vandersloot, our CEO, but you're going to hear some phenomenal trainings as well. We've also got each week our action steps. So you heard it, launch, 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 register for the R3 challenge. You know, what will 2022 bring to you? I always look at a new year is maybe new chances. I mean, for a lot of us, it's the same dreams, but it's a fresh start. And I always say, if we keep on doing the same things, we're going to get the same results. So maybe this is the year that we step outside of our comfort zone and we maybe face some of the fears that we've had. I know for me, it might be that accountability challenge, Heidi, and really stepping outside of my comfort zone and putting it down on paper and, you know, submitting it each week. But I know that by doing some uncomfortable things, that it will bring me closer to my goals as well in 2022. And you know, plugging into what we've put together as a team, I think is so important. and your partners that you're about to enroll, they're going to see that we really truly do have the best team in all of Melaleuca. So I'm going to leave you with this. It's a beautiful day to start. And we wish you all the best in 2022. We're here as a team to help you reach all of your goals as well. Thank you for joining us today. We're back here next Monday, and we've got a great fast track each and every week in January planned for all of you to reach your goals. So thanks for being with us. And Mark, I'll turn it back over to you if you've got any closing thoughts.
Nope, great job, everyone. Hey, the only point I want to make is until we roll out the new resources for results site, you can still log in to the presentation room for everything the same way you always have. So Heidi's got the main link that you saw published on a few things here tonight. That's the way you guys have always logged in. On our team, we published the live calendar. Many of you logged in that way tonight, where you just click on the link on the live calendar. Both those things are still going to continue to work. They're all coming to the same room though. So it's making it easy. So we're not going to multiple different rooms all the time. So that's going to help us with headaches we've had in the past too. So thanks guys. Next week, we're going to cover all about launch and all about everything we're rolling out. So let's have a great launch. See you soon. Bye for now. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all your help tonight.